This is a story about Bubby the Clown. Bubby wasn't like other clowns. He was evil, cruel, and disgusting. He was demonic-like. He was also a cannibal. Bubby would look funny and cute, like most clowns that come to children's birthday parties or at the circus. That's so he could get his prey. Eventually he would turn on you, turning into a monster that's unstoppable. His teeth would grow long, sharp, and pointy, with gums torn and black. His fingers turned into claws, all bloody and crooked, and broken-looking, but can still slash you. His clothes become torn and old and dusty, like they were locked into an attic for years. He keeps a wide, bloody smile, and his eyes turn black. His makeup becomes smeared, and you can see wounds and open sores on his face. He was uncomfortable to look at. He would cause many cases of missing people and murders, but yet no one knows that it's a demonic cannibal clown causing all this. Everything that he caused is a mystery. The people that survive and escape his attacks often suffer being traumatized and depressed, along with many wounds. Some people even have to go to mental hospitals. Some people lose arms and legs or get deformed faces from Bubby's attacks. But mostly, Bubby loves to kill. Bubby would claw at your skin, leaving deep scratches. He would bite off your flesh, taking off the muscle where you can see the bone. He'll crush your bones, tear apart your insides. He likes to eat your face first. The tongue and eyes are his favorites. Soon he starts tearing apart your torso, eating away your stomach, intestines, heart, and lungs. Bubby doesn't usually talk, but when he does, his voice is deep and warped. You can't normally understand what he's saying, but what you can hear is some language that's very inhuman, like hell's language. And it's nothing like I am 666 or something like that. Really, no one can make up what Bubby says. Bubby is full with evil. Bubby is something no one wants to encounter. Bubby usually lives in deep woods, sometimes hunting on animals, or resting, waiting for time to prey upon more humans. Bubby is very tall too, about 6 feet tall. Some people report seeing a very disturbing clown walking around town. Some of you may have read or watched Stephen King's It, but this clown isn't like Pennywise. Bubby is more horrific than Pennywise. Please, watch out. Don't trust clowns, because maybe that clown that you meet may act all funny and sweet, but he's probably Bubby, waiting to get his chance to feed off you. And who knows? Maybe Bubby is watching me record this. Maybe Bubby is watching you watch me. Maybe it's Bubby that's recording this. So, are you afraid of clowns?
I want to start by saying this one thing. Don't turn around. Not yet. You haven't heard my story. I was a happy man, with a wonderful family, a great job, and the sweetest kids in the world. But one night changed all that. I was walking over to the garage where I parked my car, and bear in mind it was pretty goddamn late. I saw a homeless man and asked if he was okay. His face was full of scars. It was horrible. He looked up at me and said, in a bone-chilling voice, "Did you just look at me? Did you just fucking look at me?" I was obviously confused. He picked himself up and just walked off. I got in my car and just drove off. But for some reason, I was paranoid. You know that feeling you get when you think you're being followed? Yeah, it was that. it was only enhanced by traffic. I got home, I kissed my wife on the cheek as usual, and I put my kids to bed. It was about 11 PM, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we heard our kids screaming bloody murder. I grabbed an enormous kitchen knife and ran upstairs alone. The sight of what greeted me when I got to the top of the stairs made me puke. It was that crazy hobo, and in the light I could see his jacket. It was made from faces sewn together. Literally human faces sliced off and made into a jacket. He didn't see or hear me, so I ran downstairs and told my wife to get out of the house and go to the police station. I ran back upstairs to confront the hobo, and I was greeted with my children's faces lying on the floor. I looked up, and there he was, knife in hand. He was wearing a mask, similar to Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal. That same demonic clown face. I screamed and I fell backwards downstairs. The last thing I saw was him walking up to me. I woke up in a hospital bed. My face was numb. Doctors and police officers surrounded my bed. Witnesses stated that a scarred man in a clown mask broke into the house and killed everyone in there. That bastard got my wife. Somehow. My face was scarred the same as his, and I was now wearing the clown mask. The events after that were hazy. I was shown to be sane, somehow, but a few weeks after that, I received a letter. Well, more of a parcel. It had that goddamn mask in it. It also had a knife that looked like it could slice straight through human bone with a single slash. But the bulk of the package was an unusual coat, made of faces. I knew he was taunting me. So I did some research. There were several reports of people with scarred faces killing other people. But after each kill, a new person would appear and the previous killer would vanish. And then I felt something snap. I knew the police would eventually connect it to me. So I decided to get rid of my existence. I took every single record of my life and burnt it. I then took the knife and killed everybody who knew me. Friends, family, you know. My brother was the worst one to kill. I felt horrible hearing his screams, but I had to become nothing. My next course of action is still incomplete. The next person to make eye contact with me is going to suffer as much as I did. Family is going to be murdered, and they'll get scarred like I did. Then, I'll kill myself, disappearing without a trace. Now that you've heard my story, your role has ended. You just need to turn round.
Recently, I began a new job working at McDonald's in downtown Chicago, just 20 minutes away from my apartment. Since money's been pretty tight, I have to get by somehow. A few weeks ago, something truly tragic happened. A man murdered his wife in the apartment next to me. I barely knew the people who lived there, but judging by their constant verbal episodes each night, I couldn't help but feel that because I didn't do anything about it, this was sort of my fault. That night, when I was lying in my bed, I couldn't get my mind off the thought that someone was murdered just a few feet away from where I was lying. When I finally started to drift off to sleep, I suddenly ended up in my neighbour's apartment, literally witnessing the murder. Something was odd though. Instead of the man murdering his wife, it was a deranged, hunched-over creature wearing the same uniform the McDonald's mascot Ronald McDonald does. He even had smeared clown paint. I stood there, trying to escape, but I couldn't move. I was completely paralyzed. As I sat there and watched the creature, hunched over, all demonic-like, with his huge teeth and claws, digging into the elderly woman's flesh and biting into her, all the while letting out a very loud, deranged growl. Suddenly, I woke up, still in my bed, panting and covered in sweat. A few weeks later, I had gotten my mind off the nightmare. I started to experience insomnia, however, with it getting progressively worse each and every night, even with the nightmare no longer on my mind. And each and every day I kept getting more and more tired and almost lifeless. After work one night, I was walking home and could feel as if someone was walking directly behind me, breathing on my neck and nearly stepping on the back of my shoes. I'm just tired, I thought, and kept walking, until I tried to cross the street. And the next thing I can remember is a loud banging sound, leading into blackness. I woke up strapped to a bed in a bright hospital room. I instantly began to panic, trying to escape, but it was impossible. Screaming. The sound echoed through the room, and still, no one came. What the hell was this? Suddenly, I could see a darkened figure standing in the corner of the room. I was drowsy. Was it a doctor? A nurse? It finally began to come into focus from the shadows, starting first with a long, clawed hand. The creature stood before my bed, staring at me, grinning at me with its huge, blood-stained teeth. The smell of rotted meat and blood filled the air in the hospital room. He had long, greasy red hair, and the same smeared clown paint and the suit from my nightmare. He stood over my bed, staring at me until finally walking over to the other side of the room. He took his large, sharp claws and began to scratch into the wall violently until blood started to pour out of his long finger. He went back into the shadowy corner, and I could faintly read the message on the wall. M. 2 bloody arches.